Like Joe said, I was so happy to walk in here and see so many people here to celebrate Wyatt. Last night at the funeral home, there were so many people that when I left, I told my husband that I was worried there wouldn't be many people here today because so many people were there yesterday. And so just thank you all for coming to support the families. Michelle, Wyatt's mom, asked me to read this for her because she wasn't sure that she could hold her thoughts together today. I know she could because she's super strong and she could absolutely do this, but to help her out, I am Michelle's proxy today. These are her words that she wrote for me to read. And it starts with, how does a mother say goodbye to her son? The day Wyatt was born, I mowed the lawn and took the dog for a walk with Taya in the stroller. Had Wyatt not been facing the wrong way, sunny side up, as Fred put it, he would have been born in the car. Thank goodness he was facing the wrong way. Wyatt always knew how to protect his mom, for sure. Wyatt's teachers would always comment how sensitive, sweet, and smart Wyatt was. Wyatt was definitely all of those things, but he didn't like to turn in his work. I remember when he was in third grade, and every mother of a third grade boy had this experience, and he had like 30 or more missing assignments. I waited for dismissal and then dumped his desk over to search all of those missing assignments, only to find rogue stories about Hobo Flo and Hobo Joe. I honestly don't remember finding many missing assignments, and I'm still trying to process how a kid in third grade has that many assignments, let alone that many missing assignments. When he was in fourth grade, he took out Aaron with a stiff arm on the playground after weeks of that kid knocking Wyatt over from behind. Wyatt was shaking when I came to see him in the office conference room. It made me so sad to see him that way. I tried to let him know that it was okay. Wyatt was not in trouble at home because once I knew that he was only trying to defend himself, the punishment at school was enough and definitely unjustified under the circumstances. Wyatt was not that kind of a fighter, but he was as tough as they come and would only put up with so much. Wyatt endured more in the last 7.5 months than most people will ever endure in a lifetime, and he did it with grace, determination, and relentless courage. He never once complained, and his strength was immeasurable. That type of strength is not something that one can write on a weight belt. There are no PRs for that type of strength. Through all his surgeries and procedures, Wyatt maintained a positive attitude and always had a smile on his face. Every time I asked him how he was feeling, he would reply, "I'm feeling good." Every time I asked him who's got him, he would reply, "God's got me," and point out. Wyatt continued that response to the very end, even when he could no longer speak and could only point. Wyatt's words from January 24th, 2026 are these. Remember that kid who walked over a mile on a giant board? Remember that kid who broke his arm in 2 places during track practice and still finished warm-ups? Remember that kid who was dog sick during finals week but still swam in the swim meet and won the 500? I'm not done yet. I remember that kid. I will always remember that kid. Those experiences are what made Wyatt the man he became and gave him the strength to endure what he had to go through those last few months of his life. I will miss my son's smile, his laughter, his passion, his love, his strength, and his humor. But mostly I'll just miss Wyatt. I will miss my son. I will miss spending time with him, watching Star Wars movies, mountain biking with him, and so much more. When you think you're having a bad day, I want you to think of Wyatt and how he turned so many bad days into an opportunity to continue having the best time ever. Wyatt will forever be my hero. I love you, Wyatt.
All right, so we're going to open it up now. If anyone would like to speak some words, please do so. obviously this is hard for everybody, but this is one of the great ways we can celebrate Wyatt. So please come on.
So, those of you that don't know, I am Wyatt's sister. I am not part of the audience. Honorary membership. So, the death of a brother is a profound loss that shakes the foundation of our existence. In its absence, we are left grappling with the fragility of life and the uncertainty of our mortality. We confront the reality that the ones who hold closest can be taken from us in an instant, leaving us with an unfillable void. But amidst the pain, we find strength in the memories we shared, in the laughter and tears, and in the bonds that transcended blood. I love this quote. It explains nearly perfectly the feelings that I've been grappling with this past week. And while we all struggle with this terrible event, I have found a small glimmer of peace in the memories and how I remember him and what makes me think of him. A few things come to mind when I think of Wyatt. One, he loved food. Two, any and all beverages were scared to see him coming. He was incredibly resourceful. And lastly, he was always willing to help. As any growing boy, Wyatt was food motivated, kind of like a golden retriever. I remember during my summer softball tournaments, he would probably visit the concession stand about twice a day. One season, my mom finally had enough. His concessions habit was getting out of control and something had to be done. So she told him she was packing in more food in the cooler than normal, and he could only get one small thing from the concession stand. Well, that didn't work. He proceeded to eat all of the food from home, and then claimed he was still hungry and wanted a hot dog. Wyatt was one of those people that could absolutely devour any drink that wasn't water. Like the kind of devour where you're pretty sure he didn't taste anything. On Mondays in high school, once I was finally able to drive, we would stop at Dunkin' and get iced coffees. It was always a medium with mocha syrup and cream. Now for anyone local, you know where the Dunkin' at 59 Pontiac Lake Road is, right? Well, by the time we would get to Mott, Wyatt would already have finished his. Now that's about a 2-minute drive. Mine would be untouched as we walked into the school, and his would be thrown away before we entered the building. So to any unknowing person, it looked like I stopped at Dunkin' and only got myself something to drink. Now there was one time where he didn't finish the coffee before we got to the parking lot. We ordered the same thing we normally did. Wyatt goes, takes that first massive sip. You know, that kind of sip that lasts about 30 seconds, and then goes, oh, this is sand. He holds up the cup into the light, and there's a massive mound of undissolved sugar in the bottom of the cup. And I think that was the only time he didn't finish his coffee before we got to school. It was still thrown away in the same trash can. He was also incredibly resourceful. He could make almost anything out of Legos and figure out how to fix almost everything. But one of his best moments, in my opinion, was the ingenious idea to bring his hydration pack to band camp. So while everyone was waiting for that coveted water break, Wyatt was there sipping away between steps. This was also the same year that he didn't pack any sheets or blankets or even a pillow for band camp, so maybe his priorities were a bit skewed. He also went through this phase where he was always hungry, so he would bring chicken tenders in a plastic bag in his pocket. He was always prepared. And finally, he was always there to help. When we moved into our house, Wyatt helped Joe move all the heavy furniture from our apartment to the U-Haul, then from the U-Haul into our house. This kind of help should have cost us a fortune, but he did it for the low cost of a Costco chicken bake, a few slices of pizza, and a fountain drink. I don't think we'll ever move houses for that cheaply ever again. A few weeks later, he came over, and we had our new couch delivered just minutes before. The couch arrived late, and we were supposed to have already put it together. But Wyatt just walked right in, started opening boxes, and helped us put that couch together. In all of this, those small memories are how I'll remember Wyatt. He was goofy, always there for a good time, super handy, and loved fixing stuff. I love him and I miss him. And of course I do. He's my baby brother and my first best friend.
Okay, I am Caitlin's dad. I think most of you know. And I want to tell you how I first met Wyatt. Actually, I did meet Wyatt because Caitlin, it was the summer when they had just graduated college, and she was getting ready to go out one night. And I asked her, I said, "Who are you going out with?" And she said, "Someone." So, well, Rachel, Sienna, G5, who is it? She's like, "It's a guy." I said, "What's his name?" She said, "I'm not telling you." I said, the reason she wouldn't tell me is because she had previously went with some friends to a guy's house just for a bonfire. And I tracked where she was at. I found his name and looked him up on LinkedIn. And the next day, he got a hold of Caitlin and said, "Your dad's kind of stalking me." And so, obviously, she wasn't afraid of what I would find out about Wyatt. She was afraid that Wyatt would go running the other way. What would I find out about Wyatt? I'd find out that he came from a loving home with two great parents. Him and his sister, they kept them involved in sports. He had good grades. He was a 3 varsity sport athlete in high school. He went on to a Christian college to swim on the swim team. He had great grades. He was a graduate engineer. He was literally everything a dad would want for his daughter. Everything. And so I was pleased that Caitlin had got to know Wyatt. As the summer went on, a lot of times they would do these Thursday night IT trivia nights, and they would talk me into driving them and picking them up, which I was okay to do. It made me feel a little young that I could kind of be with them. Because I would pick Wyatt up, he no longer became Wyatt. He became Wilson. And I don't know why. It's just one day I picked him up, I'm like, "Wilson, what's happening?" And that was forever his nickname for me, was Wilson. It kind of evolved into W3 because I then called him Wilson Wyatt Wagner III. And so he was forever known as Wilson or W3. And while he was in Cleveland at the hospital, a lot of times nurses would come in and I'd say, "Wilson," the nurses here, and they'd say, "Is his name Wyatt?" I'm like, "Well, he's kind of Wilson to me. That's what he was." I know a lot of you know Xbox story. When we would go down to visit Caitlin and Wyatt in Tennessee, Caitlin would be studying, and my wife would go to the pool, and Wilson would say, "Let's play some Xbox." So I said, "Okay, I'm up for it." And it would not turn out good for me. He would feed me pretty bad. And many times I'd say, "Wilson, how do you throw the ball in Madden?" And he'd say, "It's the button on the keypad, or on the controller." I'd say, "Well, there's 8 buttons on the controller." And he'd be like, "Yeah, it's one of those." And I think our first game we played football, it was 118-0. I was U of M, he was Eastern Michigan. And yeah, it wasn't a pretty turnout, but we had a good time. Well, one day in July when he was sick, he called me and he said his mom had made salsa and he wanted to bring some over. And could he run it over? And I said, "Well, I can pick it up at your house." He said, "No, I want to bring it over to you." I said, "Okay." So he came over and I saw him pull up, so I walked outside and he said, "Come on out to the car." And I went out to the car, and there on the passenger seat he had a brand new sealed Xbox system along with wireless headphones and the whole bit. And I said, "Oh, did you get yourself a new Xbox?" And he's like, "No." He says, "That's for you." And I said, "What do you mean it's for me?" And I kind of thought back because our first Christmas that we spent with Wyatt at our Christmas Eve, we have a white elephant, and he brought over and wrapped an Xbox box. And somebody opened it up and kind of thought, "Wow, look what it is." Well, they opened it up and it was a squash. And so my first reaction was, "This is going to be a squash." He's screwing with me. And he said, "No." He said, it's for you, Bob." He says, I got it for you. And he said, I was the other day, I'd taken a nap, and I woke up, and I told my mom I want to get Bob an Xbox. And he, at a time when we should have all been taking care of him and doing things for him, he actually did something for me. And that was the type of person Wilson was. He cared about people. We played a lot. We played every single night for months. My wife didn't mind. She got the TV. I cussed a lot. He said very little. He just played. He beat me. I do remember one game, and it was Madden football, and the score was tied, and I was about to beat him for the first time. And it was last play of the game, and I had my running back going around the side. I could see the end zone, and I started getting really excited with the controller, and I hit some damn button and pitched the ball behind me. And he grabbed it, and he ran the whole other way for a touchdown. And I threw out a lot of bad words, and it was the first time I ever heard Wilson just hysterically laughing. He was hysterically laughing. And I later found out there's some button that you could pitch the ball, but yeah, I don't know. He got me to golf. I hadn't golfed in 15 years, and this fall, Wilson got me to golf. He first saw my golf clubs, and I had like a set from the 80s. The driver's head was like this big, and he's like, no, you need a new driver. So he took me to Carl's, and he had me sample a bunch of drivers and picked me out the right one. He told me what I was doing wrong with my swing. We had a great time golfing. I'm not good at it. He, with everything he had going on, he could still hit the ball farther than me. He could hit the ball straighter than me. He beat me, but we had a great time. We went to some Tiger games in the fall, and one of the things I remember driving down one day, and Wilson didn't like my driving. He did not like my driving. I'm driving, and we're driving down. We went down Woodward so we can hit White Castle, and I'm of course in and out of lanes, just going, and he's like, Bob, I need to ask you a serious question. I thought, oh shit, he's gonna ask to marry Caitlin. This is a big question. And I'm like, okay. And he says, have you ever stayed in the same lane while you drive? And I'm like, no, I don't. And he was serious. It wasn't a joke to him. He was just straight faced. And no, I didn't. I didn't stay in a straight lane. So that was that. I'll try to get finished up here. I had a lot to say. Another story about Wilson, when they did move to Tennessee, me and my wife Chrissy and Michelle, we moved them down, and it was time to go, time to head back home. And I'm the crybaby of the family, and I was tearing up, giving Caitlin a hug, and got to give Wyatt a hug, and he gave me a big hug, and he just said, Bob, I got this, I'll take care of Caitlin. And I think that's the first day I fell in love with the kid. I liked him before, but that's the day I fell in love with Wyatt. He comforted me. He said, I got this, and I'm going to take care of your daughter. Like I said, that's the day I think I fell in love with the kid. Loved him. But there's a few things that I really saw true love in the last 5-6 months. One was one night when he was in Ann Arbor, and Michelle and I had switched off a lot to go up. Caitlin was back at school, and I was going to go up that night. And I got up there, and Michelle called and said she was coming up. And I said, well, I'm up here, I'm heading up. She says, no, Wyatt, he called me, and he just needs me to come up tonight. And I said, okay. And I got up there first, and I was sitting there, and he was really quiet. And then Michelle walked through the door, and he jumped up, she remembered, and he grabbed Michelle, and she ran to him, and those two just hugged and cried and didn't say a word. But there was some reason he needed his mama that night bad, and she was there for him. And I just sat back and I thought, that is true mother and son love. And it was beautiful. It was a bad place to see, but I could truly see how much he loved his mom that night, and he needed her. she was there for him. And of course, as a proud dad, I gotta say, more love is my daughter Caitlin. And for 3.5 weeks, sitting in a chair by his bed in ICU and just combing his hair, his beard, praying with him. And as much as a testament to her, it's a testament to him. He gave her so much love, that kid. He loved everything about Caitlin. And again, as a dad, I couldn't have asked for a better guy to be with my daughter. Just a great, great man. Lastly, I just want to finish up. He was, I think we all know, strong, brave. And what we talked about through the last 7 months, he never swore, he never cussed, he never punched, he never bitched out a nurse. He was as complimentary and kind to the nurses and doctors as anybody could be. He was much stronger, much braver than I could ever be, ever. Literally 3 days before we lost him, he was on a vent in ICU and he asked for his phone and he was on the McDonald's app, looking at the McDonald's app. I kid you not. Nurses were amazed at him, amazed. He, 2 days before, Caitlin had told him I was looking at cars and he was nodding his head. I should not get an Explorer, I should not get this. But when she brought up that I might get a Silverado, his eyes opened up and he absolutely, yes, I should get a Silverado. And of course, literally 3 hours before we lost him, we were there and his mom and me and Chrissy and Caitlin and I talked about the Pistons game the night before. And they got into a fight and Michelle says, "Wyatt, do you want us to pull it up on the phone and you can see it?" And he said yes, so she pulled it up and his eyes opened wide open. And he watched literally probably 2 minutes of that Pistons game that you had. And he was watching it. And this kid was really sick, but he fought and he never gave up. And then last, when we were there and he had asked the doctors, how much time do I have left? And they told him, and we were all in tears. It was a tough, doctors went out the hallway, they were in tears. But he asked for his iPad, and I know a lot of you have seen the pictures, and we put it, and he wrote, "We're going to continue to have the best time ever." After he just got told he didn't have long to live on this earth, he wrote to Caitlin, "We're going to continue to have the best time ever." And I think he taught me a lesson. I mean, as I move forward in my life, I will continue to try to have the best time ever. And I hope we all do. And in honor of why that's what he would want. And a lot of you know this morning, I'll end with this, at the cemetery, when they put his casket in the vault, and they put the vault down, and we went to put flowers, and all of a sudden Michelle says, "Wait a minute, my son was born in 2000. That says 1934. We look, and the plaque on the vault said, "Wyatt Wagner, 1934 to 2026. And we're all crying, but Caitlin said, she says, "I'm going to be honest, I think Wyatt would be cracking up right now." And I think he was. I think that was a sign from Wyatt. He did that to us because he wanted us to continue to have the best time ever. So live our lives that way. And Michelle, I loved your son. I loved him like a son. Couldn't ask for anyone better for Caitlin. You raised a hell of a kid. Just a great man. Thank you.
I'm too short for this. So who's got my back when I can't finish this? I'm Cheryl. I'm Michelle's sister. And I'm Dan Wyatt's aunt. I simply put my words on the paper and they were in my head, and I had to just write it down. So people say that others come into your life for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. Some show up to meet a need, offer guidance, or to help through something impossible. Some are with you only for a short stretch, long enough to share joy, teach you something, or simply walk beside you. And some you expect. To be there for a lifetime. No one ever imagined that a lifetime could be so heartbreakingly short. I'm not a religious person, and praying isn't something that I naturally do. People ask for unspoken prayers, and I really struggle with doing that. I want to know what's happening, what's wrong, why are you doing this? Don't ask me to pray if you're having a bad day. I feel like it needs purpose. But when I ask you to pray, it's for a purpose, and it was praying for Wyatt, but it wasn't for me, it was for them. Don't pray for me, pray for them. Most people I talk to, they talk about heaven, about the bright light, the reunion, the loved ones waiting. I don't think that's what it is. I don't think this is all there is. How could it be? We're born, we go to school, there's stress, there's taxes, there's heartbreak and pain. This can't be the whole story. I don't want this to what I remember for eternity. I think what we call life is only the beginning of what heaven really is. I don't picture Wyatt walking into the bright light and seeing his dad. I know his dad is there, but it's not how I imagine it. I imagine Wyatt waking up 4 years ago and the accident never happened. His dad, he's in the kitchen eating breakfast. His mom is at the table grading papers, complaining, I fought that mess. They're planning a trip to Emily to see family. I imagine Wyatt in his pink suit standing with the groomsmen at Taya's wedding, watching her walk down the aisle with Fred. I imagine him proposing to Caitlin and planning their wedding, wearing a tux with a purple bow tie, comfortable shoes, orange, purple, maybe both, Converse and both. I imagine Wyatt bursting with excitement to become an uncle. This is not, I don't know anything. I imagine Wyatt bursting with excitement to become an uncle, blurting it out before Taya even gets a chance. Wyatt, she would yell and laugh at the same time. I imagine him standing at his own wedding, crying as Caitlin walks towards him. I imagine him becoming a dad because he was raised by a good woman. And he would be one too. 2 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, and Legos everywhere. I imagine him standing up at my son's wedding. His and Taya's kids. carrying rings or tossing petals just like they did at mine. I imagine my daughter's wedding. All the kids grouping around her watching to help. I imagine all of them growing old together, kids, grandkids, dogs, chaos, and love. I don't imagine this loss, this pain, this end. I think Wyatt is living the life he was meant to live, just not where we can see it yet. One day we'll join him, as if no time has passed at all. Not one lost, no one lost, no one hurting. Until then, we mourn the life he didn't get to finish here. But imagine the life he is living. Brings me peace. His life in heaven, where the real life begins. They call it ever after for a reason. Fairy tales end with happily ever after, and that's what I believe heaven is. That's where he is, living his ever after, with everyone he loves. No pain, no hate, no death, no cancer. And maybe that's why certain days take on a different kind of meaning. There are moments in our lives that become more than numbers on a calendar. They become markers, moments that divide life into before and after. For me, February 11th is one of those days. It's a day that holds weight, a day that carries a quiet significance. I can feel more than explain. And as I've sat with it and I've tried to understand why that day, I've come to see layers of symbolism that feel connected to Wyatt in a way that's hard to ignore. In numerology, the number 11 is known as the master number. It's called the master messenger, the psychic master, a number tied to intuition, insight, and a higher spiritual purpose. And when you pair that with the number 2 at 211, you get a powerful combination. The balance and partnership of two meanings. The spiritual vibration of 11. Some people believe that when a soul leaves the world on a master number day, it's a sign that their mission here, a complex, meaningful, high vibration mission, has been completed. That their final step is an awakening to something greater. And then there's the energy of the day itself, February 11th, as a way of feeling like a doorway, a moment between worlds where something shifts, something's open. When Wyatt left on that day, I didn't feel random. It didn't feel random. It felt like a moment that matched the way his spirit moved through life. Quietly powerful, full of meaning, and somehow already connected to something beyond here. February 11th is also a day tied to souls who think differently, who love deeply, who leave an imprint without even trying. Tears in my eyes. That was Wyatt. He didn't need grand gestures to make an impact. He did it through his smile, his humor, the way he loved his family, the way he showed up for people he cared about. His presence changed us, and it still does. And when I think about that date, I can't help but picture the life I imagined for him, the one he should have had. I see him standing at the altar on his wedding day, nervous and excited, straightening his tie. I see him holding his first child, the softness in his eyes, the pride in his smile. I see him at family gatherings, laughing, teasing, filling the room with the kind of warmth only he could bring. I see him growing older, wiser, still carrying that same spark he had from the beginning. Those moments didn't happen here, but they exist. They live in the love we carry, in in the memories we protect, and in the future we still picture for him. And February 11th, with all its symbolism, feels like the day he stepped into the other version of his life, the one where he's whole, safe, free, and surrounded by everything good. So when I look at that date, I don't see a calendar square, I see Wyatt's spirit reflected in it. The originality, the compassion, the courage, the way he made his own path. A passing on February 11th feels like a reflection of who he was. Someone who lived with heart, left with intention, and continues to love from a place we can't see, but can still feel. And so as we stand here today, holding Wyatt in our hearts, I am reminded that love doesn't end on a date. It doesn't stop in a moment. It doesn't disappear because life was cut short. Love keeps moving, it keeps echoing, it keeps shaping the people who were lucky enough to feel it. Wyatt's story didn't end on February 11th. That was simply the day he stepped into a different kind of life. One we can't see, but one we can still feel. A life where he is whole. A life where he is free. A life where every version of the future you imagined for him still exists in his own way. We carry him forward in every memory, every laugh, every quiet moment where his name rises in our minds without warning. We carry him in the way he loved. We carry him in the way we love each other a little harder, in the way we protect each other a little more fiercely, in the way we refuse to let his light fade. Wyatt may no longer be here in the way we want, but he is here in the way that matters, in the love he gave, in the love we still feel, and in the love that will continue long after today. This isn't goodbye. This is us carrying him forward. This is us promising that his story continues through us, through love, and through his life. He lives now in a place where he's safe, whole, and surrounded by everything good. His favorite verse says, "He laughs at fear, frightened at nothing. He does not turn back from the sword." That was him. He feared nothing. He laughed always. He faced the sword. He may have lost the battle, but he won the war. So the next time someone asks how I'm doing, or my family is holding up, I'm going to say this: I imagine peace. There was a proverb that I found, and I sent it to Michelle, by Lao Tzu, that I thought of him. The flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long.
Hi, everyone. So I wrote this in the memory book online, so Michelle asked if I would share this, so I told her I would. My name is Trish, and I had the privilege, actually, of working with the entire Wagner family at one point in time in Oakland Hills Country Club. And first I want to say this before I share my memory. For the ladies that helped us when we came in, I want to thank you so much. I know it looked like we were running crazy, but there's three of the ladies back there, best in the business. Trust me, we had it. Michelle last night kept saying, "I'm asking you ladies to do this because I trust you. I trust you." Because Catherine and I get stuck in traffic and we walk in and there's a whole room full of people. But again, so I want to thank my crew back there, and of course we got it done. During COVID, the clubhouse was closed, and when things started to open up a little bit, they sent myself and my coworker Lori down to the pool to work the pool shack where Wyatt was working. And, you know, we didn't know anything about the pool shack. We came from the clubhouse, but, and it was crazy. I mean, the pool was open, kids were swimming, and swim leagues going on, and there's people everywhere. And Lori and I kind of like a fish out of water. And Wyatt was just so patient with us because we, again, we didn't know what we were doing. Whether it was not putting enough syrup in the slurping machine, or, you know, he would run the window and tickets would just be piling up, and we look back and go, who's that for? And Lori and I would go, it's for the little kid in the blue shorts and the floaties. He goes, there's 50 of them on the pool deck, which one? So he always just shared, he just was so patient with us. And he taught us, you know, just how to stay down there and work the day. And we used to have these things down there called an Oreo shake. And the kids loved them, and we sold a ton of them during the summer. But Wyatt made them, they were delicious. And the kids actually would come up and say, if I would take the order, he goes, yeah, they're going, where's Wyatt? Like they didn't want us to make their shake for them because he made them special. Lori, for some reason, I don't know why, because I don't agree with this, but she loved the hot dogs down there and the roller. And I remember, you know, Wyatt one day just turned around and looked at her and said, how many hot dogs can one person eat in a day? And he also, like at 3 o'clock every day, and would make us our 3 o'clock French fries. He'd drop them in the fryer and he'd make them for us. And he just was so good. And I am telling you, I know the day that we were sent back to the clubhouse, he probably was skipping inside. He said, thank God, get these ladies out of here. But he never was, you know, short with us. He never acted like we were a nuisance, which I knew we were. He just treated us, you know, with respect and taught us what we needed to do to get through the day. Lori, unfortunately, she's also in heaven, you know, and I believe, and my faith tells me to believe, you know, I'm sure Fred welcoming open arms, and I picture Wyatt out of the corner of his eyes going, hey, there's a hot dog lady. So, Michelle, you and Fred, what a guy. Such a gentleman, such a good kid. And I know, you know, his Open Hills family that had the opportunity and privilege to work with him will forever miss him.
I have been in Caitlin's life since I was born, and so I've been a part of watching Wyatt just totally flourish over the last 4 years. Oh my gosh. In 2022, before Caitlin and Wyatt even started dating, they were supposed to go on a date that night, but it started raining. Wyatt didn't immediately reschedule, so Caitlin immediately was like, he doesn't like me, I knew it. So she texted me and said, let's go to trivia. There's trivia on Thursday nights, let's do it. It's like, I have nothing going on, let's do it. About halfway through the evening, Wyatt finally responded, and turns out he liked her. And so she was like, what if I invite him to go with us? So we swung by his house, she got his address, we went there. He got the back seat, which already he should have known what he was signing up for because they weren't even 2 dates in and he was in the back seat. He got in and I said, Wyatt, are you ready for girls' night? Because I needed him to know that I was not third-wheeling them. He was third-wheeling us. And he got in, we went to trivia that night. And I don't know if we won or lost. We lost a lot of nights. But before they moved to Knoxville, almost every Thursday, we were there, 5 of us, or whoever we could sucker into going with us that night. There were friends that joined, siblings, parents, aunts, uncles. We made anyone in our life go with us if they were willing. And over those 3 or 4 years that we went to trivia, it started out, Bob mentioned he would drive us, and God bless Bob, because we spent those first 2 years closing down the Irish Tavern like we did work Friday jobs. We'd be there till 2 a.m. and every week we'd be like, you know guys, we should probably take a shot. We should probably stay here forever. So we would take shots and we'd stay there until 2 in the morning, like we had nowhere to be the next morning, and Bob would pick us up every time. Even though we would tell him we were ready and not walk out for 40 more minutes. That was not our fault, that was our shower. Somewhere along the way, we stopped staying out till 2 a.m. Wyatt got a job. Caitlin had to study for med school. We all started doing our stuff. We grew up. We stopped taking shots. Not always. And all along the way, we tailgated. We went to concerts. We had so much fun. And we grew up together in the Irish Tavern. Over the last week or so, I've kind of grappled with the fact that I don't think I ever really hugged Wyatt. It's just not something we would have done. He would have called me names. I work as a nanny currently, and yesterday, the heaviness of the day, I went to work, I dropped off the kids at school, and on my way out, a child stopped in his bath and he walked across the hall and he gave me a hug. He didn't look up at me, I didn't know him. He didn't walk away, didn't say anything. He probably thought I was somebody else. But I'd like to think that Wyatt knew we needed that hug. So we're gonna miss him a lot.
If I start crying or shaking uncontrollably, that is Wyatt coming through me, trying to make fun of me for one last time, so just bear with me here. I wrote it in my phone because I feel like midway through this I might black out and not remember anything I said. So I lost my best friend, and I still don't know exactly what to say or how to feel about it. Wyatt was so down to earth, genuine, and he was as tough as anyone I've ever known. He was one of the rare people who was always himself. He didn't change for anyone. He didn't bend the knee. He stood firm in who he was, and he did it quietly. It's hard to capture a friendship like ours in one story or even a handful of them. No single moment explains why we grew so close, but over the next few minutes, I hope I can at least begin to show you why Wyatt meant so much to me. There was a time in my life where I felt into like a really dark place. I lost interest in almost everything. I lost a sense of joy that everyone needs. Most days just showing up and going through the motions drained everything out of me. And without even realizing at the time, that's when Wyatt showed me what true friendship looks like. Wyatt wasn't the man of many words. He didn't try to fix things with long conversations. He didn't sit down with me and try to talk me out of what I was feeling. Instead, he just showed up every single day. We went to practice together, we ate together, we went to class together, we studied together. We did almost everything together. He didn't try to pull me out of the dark with speeches. He simply stood beside me, and there's something incredibly powerful about someone who doesn't want to try to rescue you with words. They just stay. They just walk with you. Looking back now, I truly believe that without Wyatt showing up every day and going through the motions with me, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Then, during our senior year, Wyatt's life was turned upside down when his father passed away. And somehow, defying what most of us would understand is possible, he came back to school less than a week later, just in time for a swim meet. He went back to class, he went back to practice, he didn't miss a beat. For those of you who may not know, studying engineering in college is really difficult. Swimming in college is also really difficult. but doing both at the same time is exhausting even under normal circumstances. Wyatt didn't just do both, he did them well. He earned his degree in mechanical engineering, he swam all 4 years, and he retired as a conference champion. And he did all of that while carrying the weight of losing his father. Not once did he complain, not once did he ask for sympathy, he just kept showing up. And once again, we found ourselves doing what we always did, going through the motions together, practice, meals, class, study sessions, no big speeches, just presence. His strength, his perseverance, his refusal to quit, it was incredible to witness. He showed me that even when your world turns upside down, you can still wake up, show up, give it your best, and make good memories along the way. To me, that's the definition of a true man. I could stand here and tell stories about all the laughs we shared, the arguments we had, the way we pushed each other to be better, and just like push each other just to get to the finish line. But instead, I want to close with a short story. The short story is called Twins in the Womb. In a mother's womb, there were 2 babies. One asked the other, "Do you believe in life after delivery?" The other replied, "Why, of course. There has to be something after delivery. Maybe we are here to prepare ourselves for what will be later." "Nonsense," said the first. "There's no life after delivery. What kind of life would that be?" The second said, "I don't know, but there will be more light than here. Maybe we will walk with our legs and eat from our mouths." The first laughed, "That's absurd. Walk, eat with our mouths? Ridiculous. We have an umbilical cord that feeds us. Life after delivery is impossible. The cord is too short." The second insisted, "I'm sure there's something. Maybe it's just different than it is here." The first replied, "No one has ever come back from delivery. Delivery is the end of life, and in the end, there's nothing but darkness and silence." "Well," said the second, "I don't know exactly what it will be like, but I believe we will see Mother, and she will take care of us." The first responded, "Mother, you believe in Mother? Where is she now?" The second said, "She is all around us. We are surrounded by her. We are her. It is in her that we live. Without her, this world would not and could not exist." Said the first, "I don't see her, so it is only logical that she doesn't exist." To which the second replies, "Sometimes when you are very still and you listen carefully, you can perceive her presence, and you can hear her loving voice coming down from above." Yeah. I share that story today because it's not about grief, but it's about perspective. Although Wyatt is not here with us in the way we wish he was, I believe this is not the end. I believe he has simply been delivered into something greater, into a place we cannot yet fully see or understand. And I believe he is with his Father again, together, whole, at peace. I am beyond blessed that I got to know Wyatt, to grow alongside him, and call him my best friend. And to Wyatt, as always, I'll see you again, just not yet. Not yet, my friend. Thank you.
I wasn't planning on coming up and talking today, so I don't have a script or anything. I am Caitlin's aunt, and I never got the joy of knowing Wyatt when he was a little boy. I didn't know him when he was in college with all of you, but he must have been a great guy there, because to see the turnout and you know how much you all love him. The incredible family that he has. And then along came Wyatt and Caitlin. And that's how I got to know him. But, you know, the first time I met him, you know, Caitlin introduced him to me, and I was just like, Wyatt, I'm now your Aunt Barb. You have no choice in this. I'm now your Aunt Barb because I see such a good smile on her face, and I can see you two are so happy. And you know, their love story continued. I loved to spoil both of them. When they moved to Knoxville, I loved sending them like care packages. You know, little holidays or whatever. Valentine's Day, they would get matching socks and they would get candy and all this stuff. But then they would so kindly send me pictures of their feet with designs. Our family just, Wyatt became a piece of the puzzle that our family needed. And we grew to love him so much. And this last year, I've gotten to know Michelle so much better, and Taya and her husband. We were blessed that we got to spend the holidays together. And Wyatt wanted that, and we were so lucky we got to do that. And I'm so happy that my brother finally found a man that maybe he would have thought, he would have let Wyatt marry Caitlin, but he always, when Caitlin was growing up, he was like, she will not date until she's 35. And then along comes this Wyatt, you know, and Wyatt, he had a lot of nicknames. My nephews, they all loved him. They all messed with him. They loved to call him Quiet Wyatt, you know, and then, you know, it was just, I don't know. We would go up to Caseville and he would dress, he looked like this red, white, and blue rock and roll star, you know, and he was doing this on the beach and everything. I mean, he came out so much. And, you know, our family just, like I said, we adopted him, we loved him. But when he was in Cleveland, Michelle had to be there. And so I took care of her animals, which, thank you for that, I love them. But one day I was driving, and I'm driving from Michelle's house, and then I see this other house, and that's where my brother and his wife, that was their first house. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this little love story of Caitlin and Wyatt, I mean, they didn't know, but 25 years ago, in May, these people on Otto Drive had a little baby girl named Caitlin. And then within walking distance, 25 years ago on North Winding, Michelle and Fred had a little baby boy. And who would have thought that later in life they would have found each other and been together. And I'm so happy Caitlin and Wyatt got to love and experience that love. One of the things, because they were thinking that Caitlin was going to, she was going to finish this part of med school, and then they would just place her in a hospital. And I don't know who it was, but somebody asked Wyatt, what if she gets like put in like Idaho or something? And Wyatt looked and he said, I'll just follow, you know. And that was a real man. That was a good man. And you know what? Like I said, I wish I could speak for the times that he had before Caitlin, but we were so blessed that she brought him into our lives and brought all of you into our lives. And I'm so happy just that this whole room, I can feel the love. And you know what? That smile of Wyatt's just, I'll never forget. Thank you all.
thank you, everyone. Those were some truly moving memories. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna give it one last call, see if anyone else wants to share anything. It doesn't have to be prepared. If you have a memory you want to talk to, we're all family here.
This is from Kate. We were with Wyatt during college at ONU. I wanted to write this down because there are so many things I love about Wyatt, and I didn't want to risk not being able to get them out. Some of these stories may not be fully parent approved, but they're honest and they capture exactly who Wyatt was to me. With most friendships, you never really know when they begin. That happened naturally over time, and one day you look back and wonder how it all started. That wasn't the case with Wyatt. Going to Olivet, we had to be a little sneakier than other college campuses. So when Eric mentioned that Wyatt would drink, and we had just had a cancellation on our spring break trip that left all of us a bit overextended on our college budgets, a simple text went out. Hi Wyatt, this is Kate. What are you doing for spring break? From that very first yes, that's who Wyatt was to me. The person who always said yes, even when it wasn't convenient. The person I could always count on to be there. The person who somehow always knew how to fill the empty space. Wyatt came into college a little shy, maybe a little unsure of who he was. Within months, he had 6 girls surrounding him wherever he went. As he liked to call us, we were the 7 roommates, or in true Wyatt fashion, Wyatt's somehow we found a way for each of us to feel deeply loved, each with our own unique bond with him. No one ever felt interchangeable. Wyatt and I grew especially close. He quickly became my go-to. Girl drama, call Wyatt. Boy drama, call Wyatt. Snowed in, call Wyatt. Sorry. Thank you. Boredom.
Snowed in, car trouble, boredom, or sudden decision to give someone a full makeover. Call Wyatt. The makeover, full of straightened hair and a face full of glam. Wyatt took it all in. He was always there, ready to listen, talk me through it, and maybe make fun of us along the way. More than anything, Wyatt was protective in the quiet, steady way that made you feel safe even without realizing why. Some of my favorite memories from college are the college parties at my house. Wyatt was always my beer pong partner. He always wanted control of the music so he could blast Luke Combs or Morgan Wallen. And when he overdid it, he always found a bathroom. After that happened a few more times than we'd like to admit, his goals shifted from the normal, I'm not going to drink too much to the point of throwing up, to I'm going to try to throw up in every bathroom. He made it most of the way, only missing one before we sold the house. He wasn't necessarily the life of the party, but he was always down for a good time and somehow always part of the story. One of my favorite memories was when we were supposed to go to the Dan and Shay concert and it got canceled due to COVID. While we may have missed the professionals, Wyatt put on a concert of his own. Snapchat after Snapchat, we opened to videos of him acting out every single word of the song. They're probably not pictures to share with everybody, but I hope they brought us a good laugh. This was just who Wyatt was. He knew how to flip the mood. He wasn't always the loudest in the room, though he definitely had his moments, but he always knew the right thing to say or do. Jacqueline and I am so thankful for the last trip we got to spend together with him in Seattle. A trip full of celebration, new memories, and exploring. After Seattle, I know things became a battle, but Wyatt was still there, still responding, still in good spirits, and still being Wyatt. When he was diagnosed, I asked him what it was. He told me, it's very rare, even if you Google it, you won't find anything. We all know that isn't true, so of course I Googled it. The first thing I saw was that the prognosis wasn't good. I didn't believe it. He was in good spirits, so why could it be true? But him telling me not to Google it was exactly why it was. Always protecting us, always carrying the weight himself. He was so strong, even when he should have had to be. Wyatt and I had an 8-year Snapchat streak. Sometimes words, sometimes just pictures, but always a reminder that he was always there, no matter how far apart we were or where life took us. I'm still figuring out how life goes on without my rock, as I know we all are, but I also know that he's always there. I wish I could give him one more big hug. He was the best hugger. But until we meet again, I know his arms are around all of us, reminding us to laugh, to love, and to have the best times ever. How lucky are we to have loved him so much that missing him hurts us deeply. Thank you.
I have one more story to add to that. Wyatt always liked to push my buttons, and he knew exactly how to. When my car battery died, he told me I needed blinker fluid. Nobody didn't know that. He convinced everybody on the entire swim team that he owned a private jet. I found out 2 years ago, he never had a private jet. So he always brought a smile to our face, and I love him, and I'm so happy, like Kate said, that we got to experience that life.
Hi, Caitlin. I was not going to talk at all because I have been inconsolable for the past 10 days. But Kate just mentioned that he always made it to the bathroom when he drank too much. Just kind of triggered something in me. So I had hung out with Wyatt one single time. I told my friends, I'm like, yeah, this guy is not into me, whatever, it's fine. I'm gonna invite him to a Love Nuts game though, with all of my friends and all of my family. And then he said yes, and I kind of said it as a joke, because I didn't think he would say yes to it, but then he did, and they're like, okay, he's into you. No, he's not, it's for a free baseball game. And then we got up there, and I mean, we had very different college experiences. Went to Michigan State. He had actually sent me a Snapchat at one point. He was like, I gotta ask, are there any nights of the week that you are not at the bar? But then after this Love Nuts game, my friend still kept saying all of this stuff, and he's trying to keep up with us, and my sweet little Wyatt really couldn't. But he thought he could, and then all of my friends, you know, they're coming around with their cameras, and they would say, like, kiss cam, and then they'd make us kiss, and then he's just doing that for the show. He's really not into me. And then we get back to my house in East Lansing, and there's 7 of us, and we sit down, and Wyatt, again, second time hanging out with him, projectile lava all over my living room. And then I'm like, go to the bathroom right now. And I'm sitting there, and I'm cleaning up his mess, and I'm like, you know what? I think we're meant to be. I think we are really meant to be. And then we went outside afterwards and just sat on the hammock for a while because he needed some air. One of my friends came out there and she was like, you two are good. Like, this is a thing. You know he likes you, but I think you two are kind of meant to be. So that's all I have. He didn't always make it to the back.
For those of you who don't know, I'm a Dave Johnson. I was Wyatt's roommate for a couple years and all of that. Well, as you know, Wyatt was not only my roommate all of that, but a close friend and someone I would call my brother. From sharing my love for swimming, watching YouTube race videos all night, analyzing swim strokes, whether it was from Warren meets, other college meets, even age group meets, it never stopped. My connection with Wyatt started on his recruit visit when he wore his Kingfish Aquatic shirt, which is a club team in the area. and we bonded instantly. Wyatt helped me on so many levels during our youth outlet, volunteering to drive me winter practices, from different team trips we were together, also back home in Michigan, or whether it was breaks from school, winter break, spring break, or even just a vote in his first election actually. That was pretty fun drive. Even when I doubted myself, he pushed me to my limits. He always pushed me to give more, whether it was effort in practice, studies, or just to be a better person and show up. When my dad passed in 2023, that's when Wyatt and I connected on a deeper level. He was able to help me and guide me away, essentially through self-destruction. He pushed everyone around him, cared for everyone around him, and made sure that you were having fun, no matter what it was. It was done with a smile on your face. I think from what we learned today, from everyone who has spoken and will speak, is to show up. Not just words, but your actions. Wyatt has brought us together today, and I want us all to just keep showing up for each other. Thank you.
Right. Really amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. Amazing stories.
Joe, can I share one more thing?
Absolutely. Please. Is it about toilets and vomiting?
I'm gonna let that one go. Alright, this next thing I want to share is not from me, but from another family friends that I tried to explain to a couple White college friends yesterday how our family dynamic worked and how none of us are related, but we all have boundary issues, and so I'm sharing for them instead of me. So this, from Bowens, he said, I've known Caitlin since she was 3 years old. When Wyatt entered her life, we were all uncertain, not because of who he is, but because a man was entering his sweet, precious little angel from heaven above his life. She had brought a boy around since high school, and we would have questioned anybody who would have been brought around. They quickly realized and witnessed the love that Wyatt and Caitlin had for one another. At Becca's wedding, they got to watch the two of them gaze into each other's eyes, laugh, and playfully touch each other's arms. The silliness they shared was so awesome to be around. From that day forward, everyone was a Wyatt fan. We were able to feel how much he cared for Caitlin and knew what type of person he was. He was caring, kind, and gentle, and would never, ever hurt her. And that's what mattered. The love these two shared were priceless and undeniable. It showed whenever you were around them. We are so, so sorry for the loss of Wyatt, and Caitlin definitely found her perfect match.
Anybody else? I mean, that's seriously, I'm not joking. You good?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. That'd be really funny. Alright, well, thanks everyone for coming. The family, I know both families, everyone is also happy and glad you guys could all make it and celebrate Wyatt today. There is still a bunch of food left on both sides of me, and some photos if you've not seen them to have a look at. Some right from when he was a little boy to very recently, some great photos there, so please take a look. And yeah, have a great time, and let's continue to celebrate Wyatt, and thanks for all coming.
Thank you, Joe.